สวัสดีเจ้า I'm Pim Kemasinki back again on our little program called Pim's Multiple Personalities, and today we have a bright personality and a dear friend of mine, Oat Montien.
สวัสดีค่ะสวัสดีค่ะ
So Oat is a dear friend. He's actually the fiancé of one of my best friends in the whole world. Jonas, come say hello. Jonas Dept. You might know him as the Belgian pianist who did all the concerts and lived in Chiang Mai for many years until he abandoned us and went to Bangkok.
Bye.
And
My
you can go now.
fault.
Yes, he fell in love with you. So, okay, if you don't know him, and most people in Thailand now do, he's becoming a little bit of a celebrity.
What can I say?
What can you say indeed? He's an artist, an author. You published, what, 6 books?
Yeah.
A galleryist. He's also basically one of the most prominent voices in the LGBTQIA plus. Did I get that right?
Yes.
Plus movement today.
Thank
So
you, Vicky.
let's start off. Tell us about who are you? Who are you, Oat?
Well, funny enough, I actually have quite a relationship with Chiang Mai.
Yeah.
My first internship was at Mesa Valley, right?
Doing what?
Making papers and painting umbrellas. So I love art since I was really young,
Yeah.
and I actually graduated in London. I did my first master at Central St. Martin's. Very naughty time, as you could relate.
Your first degree in what?
In communication design.
Oh.
And but I was painting, I was drawing. Eventually, somehow, I ended up teaching drawing at the V&A, Victoria Albert Museum.
Teaching drawing at the V&A?
Yes. And like,
How old were you?
I was like 20.
God, that's obnoxious.
It was obnoxious.
Yeah,
But
fantastic.
London is a crazy place, as you know. I
Yeah.
mean, you just, I was partying with Vivienne Westwood. I was like, really all over the place. It was the town to be for young, aspiring creatives. So I was just really lucky to get that job.
Yeah.
And when I was teaching, I felt, wow, museum was so inspiring, right? And I mean, in London, we have the V&A, we have Science Museum, there's like the British Museum, so many good places. So I decided to do my second master degree in education in museum and galleries. So specializing in creating learning tools for museum collections.
Where was that?
At the IOE, Institute of Education in London.
So off you went to London and you were doing 2 masters.
Yes.
You're a bit ambitious here. I didn't know you had 2
Story
masters.
of my
And I'm
life.
friends with you. Oh my
Yeah.
God, it's shameful of me.
No, nothing.
Obviously. It's just,
But after I graduated, of course, I came back here to, I was so inspired by London and the museum scene. So I wanted to create something similar in Thailand. I wanted to see people lining up, right, for
Yeah.
museums
Yeah.
and getting involved. So I started my own little consultant agency called Museum Minds. And with that, I work with สถาบันการเรียนรู้แห่งชาติ or Museum Siam.
Yeah.
I teach a thing called Museum Academy. So over 5 years, we taught educators, curators from about 200 institutes all over the country. They come and they learn about making trails, making education programs for different audiences. So it's been really fun.
Yeah.
And Museum Siam has created amazing exhibitions. For example, gender illumination about LGBT.
Well, let's go there then, because I mean, I know your museologist side is very active, and you've worked on numerous exhibitions, including the latest one, right? Tell us a little about that. That's quite exciting.
Well, the thing is, as I worked with many big institutions in Thailand, I realized actually I want to push more LGBT stuff. I don't want it to be just 1 month a year that we can talk about gender, because it's something that I'm very passionate about, right? And so I thought, okay, I quit the job. I stopped teaching at Museum Siam and create my own little gallery. Little did I know, it was Thailand's first dedicated space for LGBTQ plus artists.
I'm kind of shocked about this.
I am
This
very
only
shocked.
opened like what, a couple of years ago?
Yeah, during COVID, basically, I
How
opened.
could we not have had a gallery in Thailand?
I mean, the thing is, we had exhibitions, right? Spectrosynthesis at BACC was super inspiring. All LGBTQ artists. There are here and there have pop-up exhibition, but not a single space that dedicates the whole operation to this. And actually, when I opened it, a lot of people were like, "Oh, you should."
Why?
Because you're putting art in a box. Art shouldn't have a box. You're putting yourself in a box.
Art's been put in so many boxes for so many millennia. Suddenly, this box isn't quite appropriate.
Right?
Right?
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah.
And the thing, and they say, "Oh, who wanna see art about genitals?" And and well, thank you. The thing is, as an LGBT person, right? Every day we woke up, we think about gender. Which toilet do I feel comfortable going? Which am I wearing a skirt or a pants? Do I use the word cup or cup? Like everything. Can I hold my husband hand in public? Am I feel safe in this space? Like all the time, every day.
Yeah.
So if art is a reflection of human experience, why cannot we have a gallery that have art about gender? Right? This is my stand. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do it.
It shouldn't even be controversial. It shouldn't even be a question.
So I did it anyway.
Of course.
And it was amazing. First show was my own exhibition, and more than 200 people turned up in bloody Don Mueang, right?
I know.
It literally like, you came.
I went. I know. I was so excited.
You blamed.
I felt like so banal, with all these very suave, sophisticated, black-wearing Bangkokians.
I did not expect that. I mean, I'm so grateful, especially for
Yeah.
you. Came all the way, and I had really good friends that came, but I did not expect it to be so successful. Second show we did also of lesbian artist Pion Thong Thai, who exhibit in Chiang Mai many times. She did printmaking with CAP Studio.
Right, of course.
Rainbow etching, which was amazing. And third show we just did called Trans Life Journey, which is all self-portrait of trans people.
Oh.
And I managed to show that at also W Hotel. We did a pop-up exhibition of
But tell
this.
us about that.
Yeah.
That meeting you had as well with the self-portraits, the families.
Yeah, it was really amazing because, being a dedicated space, we could really tackle these issues. And really, as an educator as well, I love creating programs around exhibitions.
You're
right?
such a little nerd.
I love it. So, for example, this show was so meaningful for everyone involved.
Yeah.
So basically, we make an open call for people to submit their self-portraits. People who identify as trans, right? And I do that because usually, of course, in Thailand, you think we have very high trans visibility.
Yes, we
see
do.
in the media, yada yada, but we don't hear them in their own voice, right? A lot of time, those characters are written by either straight people or not themselves. And not all the time they want to be seen as a season, a colorful character,
Yeah.
or like a เพื่อนนางเอกอย่างเงี้ย
Best friend of the heroine.
clown, the joker. Actually, they have more than that. So this exhibition, I work with Nong June Wasamon to curate these portraits that were taken by themselves, how they want to be seen by the world, and their story about transitioning. So we have, trans man from the south who's a Muslim person, and talking about coming out to his Muslim family.
Talk about that. That was an interesting image, right?
Yeah,
It's a
so-
self-portrait.
Yeah, if you happen to see this image, which I love, basically it's a self-portrait of him getting his hair cut by his father. Which, at first glance, you're like, oh, it's a nice family image. But actually, it's very meaningful because as a Muslim woman, you're not supposed to be seen with your hair, right? So this was,
Yeah.
very
Very
sentimental.
poignant, yeah.
We have a picture from Angele Anam, who's a winner of Thailand Drag Race, which is like, for people who don't know, it's a Olympics for drag queens.
Sachet away.
Yes. Word girl. It was really beautiful show. We also organized in relation to the show a family event. Basically, it happened because one of our portrait went viral. And people share it and they say, oh, you're so ugly, this is terrible, why is this on my desktop, So me and my friend thought, you know what, the most important support we need is from our family.
Yeah.
As queer people, as LGBT,
Yeah.
family is the first start. So from that event, we thought we'd do a family meeting of LGBTQ family members and bring their parents. And we had about 20 people from different families
Yeah.
coming together, discussing intergenerational experience about
Yeah.
gender. So it was so beautiful. And
Wonderful,
I feel so
yeah.
blessed. I've learned so much doing this. And, I'm happily say that this is kind of my contribution to the movement,
Yeah.
I guess, you
Well,
know.
I think you've got a long journey ahead of you, my love. So don't you be sitting on your laurels just yet. So
Yeah.
what about the tell me a little bit about sort of the LGBTQIA movement in Thailand. You know, where have we come from? Where are we going?
Okay.
How has it been historically? Let's even go back that far.
Amazing. So if we start historically, I mean, I'm not super good with dates, but I know for a fact that the word kathoey has been in.
What is kathoey for?
Kathoey, I would say, technical translation would be hermaphrodite, but we also use it for trans people. The word kathoey was written in the law Tra Sam Duang, the Ayutthaya period law. This is go back 15th to 18th century, right? So it was written that the kathoey are grouped with the dwarf, the midget, the albinos. Right, so it's always been a physical deformation that you're a kathoey. And then also it's also said that they're not allowed as witness in the court.
They're not allowed to testify. Yeah,
No.
Yeah.
So it's very sad, but it gives us this glimpse that the word kathoey has been here, you know, the
Yeah.
acknowledgement of trans or hermaphrodite people since the Ayutthaya period. And then, of course, the big change happened around Rama V.
In so many ways.
Right? I mean, before that, yes, it's in record that there are, sexual acts of people in the court
Yeah.
of the same sex. We call len phuan and things like that. There's already
Playing with friends.
Playing with friends. We already have that, but in King Rama V, around the colonial time, there was a big effort to make Thailand look modern,
Yes.
right, in international kind of eye. So we adopted a lot of Victorian kind of laws. So
She's got a
then
lot to answer for, that lady.
at that point we'd start having a kind of based on sodomy law, basically what we had
Yeah.
was something it was punishable by law for perverted sexual acts.
So that was put in place during Rama V.
Yes, but I mean it didn't last that long.
1956 apparently was when it was decriminalized for
Yeah.
non-commercial sodomy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
non-commercial.
I know King Rama VI actually published something on Dusit Smith about, you know, why kathoey knows so much about sex. And I mean, I love King Rama VI. So, you know, there's always like nuances and trying to educate. The things shift and changing.
Yeah.
It's not like in the West where it was so stigmatized. I mean, I guess from Christianity and all that.
So how do you think the journey has been though? Because we've had things like 2002, it was declared not a mental illness. 2007,
Yeah.
rape covers men and women. 2015, anti-discrimination laws enacted. 2019, the civil partnership discussed in Parliament. So I mean, it sounds like we are moving forward in a
We
sensible
totally
manner.
are. Like, before we going further, I would like to stress that, you know, Thailand, in comparison to countries around us, we talk Indonesia, we talk Burma, we talk, you know, all this country around us, we are quite progressive
Yeah,
in terms of LGBT, you
Yeah.
know.
and that's definitely the image that the world has of Thailand.
Yes,
Right? So what do you compare
I
to that?
say everything we had, we fight for.
Yeah, right.
Everything we have fought for it. Yes, we also have a very open-minded society, but we also a very conservative country. You know, people think that we're very liberal, but actually, still now, we still don't have equal marriage, right? And everything we had, we really fought for.
63% of Thai people approve of legal marriage. 63%. That's a good, sizable chunk of people, right?
Yeah, and you know, I mean, I think it's not so much of an issue for people. It's more like the policy and the lawmakers that are still very backward and scared to commit to these things. We don't like change
So
for some
why
reason.
this generational disconnect? Do you think that's it, or what do you think it is?
I think eventually we're gonna have it. I think it's still a fight for us. For example, if we want to talk pride, which
Yeah.
is, you know, one of the big
I was
movements,
going to get to that.
visibility, you know, that we push forward things with pride.
You were just at the Pride Bangkok.
I was just at
Yesterday.
Bangkok yesterday
Yesterday, he was prancing around floats and looking
with
fabulous.
Jonas. We're on a truck of Swing, which is a organization promoting health for sex worker, and very proudly, protesting through down Silom, which is the gay district of Bangkok. It was very historic because actually we never had pride that scale before, and this thanks to our new governor.
Yeah.
Chachat, who also in the parade, and it was a
really?
Yes, it was a historical moment for us. We had Pride actually, like a little parade that organized before by private sector, but we never had this scale of Pride.
It's quite shocking that we haven't yet. I mean, Pattaya, did they have Pride?
They're having this year, yeah.
The first time.
Well, there were attempts that happened before.
Well, we'll talk about that.
Right? So Chiang Mai, for example, did...
Okay, let's talk about that. Do you know enough about the history to share it with our viewers?
Not, I think I know, but I think you might have a better inclusive...
Just to give you a recap, right? This was a day that should go down in infamy. It really, really should in Chiang Mai. It was 2009. I think it was January. I can't quite remember. But they decided to have a Chiang Mai Pride Parade. And it was all like the buzz around town. It's all very exciting. But don't forget, this was just after the Bangkok airport was closed down for the yellow shirts in late 2008. This was the height of the political shenanigans. This was when the red shirts, the Red Shirt Chiang Mai 51 group, were becoming pretty nasty and very, very vocal, very aggressive. And so a lovely group of people, Thais, expats, were going to organize the Pride Parade. And they actually got closed in a temple, blocked by Songtail drivers. They were spat on, they had things thrown at them. They were there till midnight. They were fearful for their lives. They were so afraid. People were climbing the temple walls to get out and sneak away. And the parade was shut down. And they were demanded that they had to pray at the feet of the protesters and promise the city of Chiang Mai that they would never have another Pride parade for 1,500 years. And that was the end of Chiang Mai Pride 2009. It was disgusting. So tell us.
Well, the most
where we're at now.
disturbing thing, can I just add, that that caused that whole anti-Pride of that time was actually some member of our own community kind of just, didn't get enough light or whatever, and start causing all this whole shenanigans.
It was actually a regular, I've interviewed him many times. He goes by Gay Nati, he calls himself. And he was a self-appointed activist spokesperson for the gay movement. And he was constantly calling me up to give me quotes about everything gay-related, which is great for me. I got free sound bites. But he was sort of snubbed because he wasn't invited to give a big enough role in the movement. So he got the red shirt protesters, he got the Chiang Mai Cultural Council, he got all these people to come and protest, his fellow gays.
That is shocking to me. I mean, thank God we've come quite far from that. I mean, Chiang Mai did another Pride recently, right?
10 years to the day. 2019.
And I thought that was, for me, that's so invigorating. I got stuck in Bangkok, but I would die.
I was in England.
Would have been really, really fun. But, that's the thing.
But thousands turned up. People were crying on the streets. People were throwing flowers from balconies. Apparently, it was the most goosebumpy event, like all the way down Tapeh Street. Thousands of people were supporting them. It became a wonderful thing.
Goosebump.
And the best thing is, Gay Nati was caught for embezzlement or money laundering, and he got a 25,000-year jail sentence.
That's great. Karma, bitch.
22,000. I exaggerate.
But that's kind of the feeling I had at Pride in Bangkok yesterday. It was historical to be together. I have to also say that Thailand has been advertised as paradise for LGBT people.
What's the slogan? TAT?
Go Thai, be free. Girl. Girl.
It's just.
We don't even have the rights to get married. We can't make a medical decision for our partner. I can't marry Jonas, and all the paperwork that he needs to do. I mean, my sister got married and divorced, right? We still haven't, and all the rights that we're supposed to get, things like uniform is not recognized.
Yeah.
Well, in government places, government buildings, you still have to dress the uniform of your birth assigned sex, right? So even if you're a trans person, you still have to wear the uniform according to your birth sex, and that's very uncomfortable for many people. Your ID card, you can't change the cam nam na, no, in front.
Mr. Mrs. And what about, talk about the uniform? Wasn't there some intersex person?
Yes, so I think as a country, we're not educated in terms of gender sensitivity. Now, every institution, I mean, at my own university, I teach at July University, there are some professor or some faculty that's still very discriminating. The student have to dress in, that whatever uniform.
Binary.
Yeah, very binary. They have to dress up in the uniform, which personally, I don't think it makes them any better academics. Or, I don't think it does anything.
But it makes them better little sheep.
They are not allowed in their exam rooms if they're not dressed according to their ID card. And for me, that is bananas.
And
right?
wasn't there an intersex person?
Yeah, so one of my students also, as an intersex person, got shamed publicly by the professor, asked to go change in order to get in the classroom. This kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think it's
and they were born with two sexes, so what?
Like, do you want me to show
Yeah.
my vagina to you? Just because they judge by their looks. Things like hospital, when we go to hospital, trans men, for example, go to their section and then they get asked, "Oh, have you done your operation?" It's none of your business, right? It's actually this sensitivity in all these places.
Is that just
non-existent.
lack of sensitivity training in any area? Like, for me, being overweight, my God, I hear it every day, right? From everyone, how much do you weigh? It's not fun, it's not nice. Is it just because, do you think it's just a Thai trait?
I
what
don't
is
think,
it?
personally, I don't think it's justified anymore. We can say it's our culture.
So there's no excuse.
There's no excuse to be uneducated. The government needs to shift in. It's just inclusion in their training program. It's not that hard.
Is it not? Is it
I
not?
don't think so.
You don't think it's so deeply rooted?
No, I think Thai people particularly, we can shift and change. You know how we're so sabai about things. Of course, it's not hard. I think, and at the core of all this, right? It's about treating people as human and respect. Of course, LGBTQIA, right? Plus, it's a mouthful.
Yeah.
But I don't want, when we talk about a gender spectrum, I don't want it to be about just the pronouns, just the letter, or, oh, I'm afraid to offend someone. Actually, it's about treating people as equal.
Well,
right?
therein lies the problem. Intrinsically, Thailand has never been an equal country. It's a right? So, how hard is it to sort of shift the mindsets? Now,
personally, I think it goes both ways, right? As we talk from top down, we need policy makers. We need, place like the Ministry of Health to include this kind of training for the staff. For school and university, we need policy to really make things change.
Such as, what would you enact immediately?
I think things like pronouns, things like gender neutral, gender sensitivity training.
Okay, let's talk about pronouns then. How would you like to see?
So it's very simple. For example, we're fighting for equal marriage, and this is Matra 1448, right? 1448, which is our marriage law. It's always say the marriage between male and female, just change that to person and person. Then that's it, done. We don't need a civil partnership law. We don't need to create another law for the LGBT to be happy. No, we just want equal.
So what are they afraid of? What could go wrong with this person?
You tell me.
I don't know.
You tell me. I really have no clue why people are so afraid of. And for example, the pronouns are changing their Mr. and Mrs. on the ID card. There used to be, arguments saying, oh, the doctor would know what to do if they're in the emergency. I say, if the doctor don't know what to do, they should not be a doctor.
Yeah, right.
Like, they should not be in the emergency room. Like, honey,
Right?
So for me,
I don't like the Ms. and Mrs. It's none of your business if I'm divorced or not. Right?
Amen.
Thank you.
So this kind of thing, I think we can totally go forward. And it's not like we're the first in the world. We've seen countries, in Scandinavia, we've seen in America, they've been fighting and things has been changing a lot.
Yeah, which goes back to this perception of Thailand as a liberal country. But yet, there was a report somewhere, I think you showed me, that at the top level, the CEOs, the real influencers, you won't find many trans people or many outwardly LGBT.
Do you? Like, I ask you, you know, you've been around, you know people.
I've been around. Who told you? Who told him? Did you tell?
But how many trans leader or trans, say not even government, like we talk government, we know we're about to have the first, right, coming out trans person in the parliament. But if we talk even corporate level, how many trans person at decision making level do you know? How many openly gay person? If we don't talk if we don't talk entertainment industry, right? If we talk like normal, openly gay.
It's kind of ring fenced, isn't it? Hairdressers, entertainment industry. It's kind of sort of areas that are permissible to rise up.
I feel exactly what you said. We've been perceived as very liberal country.
Yeah.
But if you live here as an LGBT person, you know that we have a lot to go. We have a lot more to go, and that's why things like pride, things like this policymakers are very important. Things like, you know, equal marriage. Like personally, I don't really believe in marriage. Like I think the paper doesn't change much.
So why am I the best man at your wedding?
I think it's fun.
That's fun.
Like if my sister can throw a fucking party, I can throw a party.
Oh,
right?
Quite.
Girl.
Nothing competitive or siblingy here.
But I think also, you know, in the long run, it's about living with someone and to rest assured that we have, you know, decisions that we could make.
Yes.
For example, you know, if anything happened to me, I want Jonas to be able
absolutely.
to decide the thing. If all the things that we build together, I want him to have it. I want him to have all the rights that he's supposed to have as my lover and the share of my life. There's too many cases of stories, and my personal friends, who got kicked out by their family, right? And they built their life from scratch with their partner. And when something happened, everything went back to the family that kicked them out.
Ouch, that's just unacceptable. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. That's unacceptable. Another issue, I've interviewed some lesbians, and they have a complaint. They say that the LGBTQIA movement in Thailand is mainly led by gay men, patriarchy, and they say that therein lies a problem, but it's still not quite covering lesbian issues and women issues.
I disagree. I think it's changing. I think it's Anjari, for example, one of the longest running lesbian-led organization, has been very prominent in the scene of fighting for equal rights. I think, and there's a letter L in front of LGBT for a reason, you know, because like during the AIDS epidemic, the lesbian were the ones that helped us dying on our deathbed in hospitals, getting things done, getting people out and caring for them. So the lesbian has always been very active.
Is that why they put the L?
Yes.
On the L?
Yeah, because it used to be a GLBT,
okay,
but then
nice.
the L go first because it's a tribute to how amazing lesbians are to the whole movement.
That's
And I
nice.
think it's the same in Thailand. I've met so many very active lesbian. For example, Girl X Girl is like a new lesbian group funded by very lovely Patricia. Now he's organizing things like Clubhouse for lesbians and a lot more visibility.
Because there weren't many spaces for lesbians,
Yeah.
especially in Chiang Mai. I could never find.
This is the thing. I think doing a gallery, LGBT gallery, I've learned so much about other letters.
Yeah.
It is true that we're very segregated, right? In each of our own boxes.
Because you all have your own issues. I mean, I don't know if the viewer knows this, but there was I wouldn't say a plague, but there were a great number of cases in the last few years of the more butch, they're called Tom now in Thailand, lesbians being raped by men to basically rape the lesbian out of them. It's absolutely shocking, and it's a thing. It's a thing.
It's
not just
totally a
one-off.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally a
And
thing.
so they have their own set of issues.
Yeah, and you know, and one of the problem is, with exception of Pride, we don't have a space to discuss these things.
Yeah.
We only have nightclubs, right?
Yeah.
And, give the gays their drink. I mean, I'm off by 8 p.m. I'm drunk as fuck. But we should have places where we can discuss things soberly.
Yeah.
You know, and when come together and discuss issue and move forward together. That been one of the things that I've seen more and more these days. So I think it's a positive change and something to look forward to in the future. So yeah, not just this month. We're here, we're queer, 365 days a year, and we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it.
You know what I found fascinating? I was interviewing this this trans girl, Nong Best, who is a big activist here in Chiang Mai. She's absolutely beautiful, graduate of CMU. She was one that put on the 2019 Pride Parade that was so successful.
Amazing.
And she said to me, she said that when she first learned about 2009, she was shocked. She was absolutely, she couldn't believe it. She had to go and research it because she didn't think that it could have happened just 10 years ago. Like how far the movement has come in 10 years shows that she couldn't even relate to that level of abuse, you know. Not Panan, the other girl, the girl that went viral, a trans girl for being, she had a sign up saying, I'll be Thailand's first trans prime minister. And she also said to me that it's no longer just about the LGBTQIA movement, it's democracy. She said
exactly. I was going to say exactly that because, you know, I met her in the protests, actually anti-government protests, because I think the new generation, we can talk about the different generations actually, the new generation have learned a lot about protesting. A lot about protesting in the past few years. That's under this government. You know, they have fought for things, not just the equal rights for LGBT people, but equal rights for all. You know, and I feel
crumbling that pyramid.
I think it's amazing. Like I see my own students from Chula University on the street, you know, fighting for things like get rid of uniform, things like, you know, the rights to vote, to have an election.
Yeah.
And I truly feel that I think it's maybe this generation, so many years under the military government, have created a fighter out of this generation.
I hope you're right.
And I think it's amazing to see, because if we look back, older generation is much more compromised. I will not name an organization that brought bouquets of flower to the government when they say they're gonna consider the civil partnership law. Like this is so bullshit.
Yeah.
I mean,
this is a rainbow organization, was it not? Bouquet of flowers to beg your. I'm sorry.
What's the deal? You know, with people who pressing you. Anyway, I think there's a big change, and but yeah, I do think we still need joining of different generation of activists, learning from each other.
Tell me a little bit about that. You know, how different has the activism that got you this far? Let's not ignore that they got you this far, right? And how different are you? And I know there's a little bit of resentment between the generations, but yet you're both working on this one. You know, so I think you know, in the parade in Pride, we see so beautiful. They're coming together for this and putting our differences behind, because it is quite radical for the new generation and their approach. And you know, bear in mind, there's so many new words now: non-binary, right? Queer, which has totally another connotation before. Even the LGBTQ, this came quite late. If we talk about gender fluid people on this very land, we have them centuries before. You know, Ayutthaya even before. In different culture, you know, like around here, not just Thailand, Southeast Asia, we have gender fluid people in records for centuries. Absolutely.
And they're all worshipped actually. Right? In Burma, they're called the Nat, who's like a shaman. You know, in the south we have Nora. In Indonesia, there's 8 different genders. You know, in a lot of different tribes, when people are born with 2 energies of male and female in one body, we're worshipped as spiritual medium. We've been here. We've built this culture. Right? We're part of it. So this LGBT that comes from the West is relatively new for many people.
It is, isn't it?
So it's understandable that there's a, you know, this connection and the way of life before all this human rights and requesting and protesting. We exist before that, and we learn to adapt into this patriarchal society. And you know, I think it's the same with other arguments of even the yellow shirt adventure. Some say, oh, well, let's just compromise, let's just, you know, live happily. And the other side, like, no, let's take down the whole patriarchy system, you know.
So you think that's a disconnect? So the older generation were willing, but they did get their demands met, you know, and they did.
But what would the thing that they asked for? I mean, they would not dream to ask for the things that we are asking now, right? So I think for me, is normal nature of a society. That of course there are conflicts and things, but I think it's coming together. I mean, I organized I hosted
Yeah.
one of the first Pride event in Bangkok this year with W Hotel, right? And on the stage, I organized a panel for I bring in Bangkok Rainbow Organization, PR, who've been working more than 20 years, right? Trying to promote sexual health
Yes.
in gay community.
So like the M plus of Bangkok.
Yes, and swing, for example, bringing PrEP and all this medical help to sex workers.
Yeah.
Been doing it for years, and new groups, like Nong Nikki, who create Trans Circle Talent, where all these people coming together. I think it's so beautiful to see, young people, older generation.
So
It's
is it
gonna be
a really
interesting,
active movement now?
Yes.
Yeah, really.
100%.
So you are part of this movement. You're recognized as part of it. I mean, it's.
I hope
Is it
so.
national or is it mainly just in Bangkok?
I think
Other regional.
I hope it's
chapters
going.
going.
I think it's going national because we have Bangkok Pride now. We're gonna have Pattaya Pride parade later this month, and of course Chiang Mai did your own thing even
Yes.
before Bangkok, right?
Yeah.
There's so many. Unfortunately, it started in Bangkok, but I think it could apply, and it will be applied to other provinces. I
It
hope
started in
so.
Chiang Mai in 2009.
Well, yeah.
It's sort of
Yeah.
ended right there as
yeah.
well. Yeah, so, well, let's go back to you a little bit. I still
Mm.
want to go back to sort of you growing up. How was your experience?
Well,
Especially
okay. This is a-
viewers, guess where he grew up?
So this is a funny story, right? So I grew up in a brothel, basically. It's a Tanbarikan, in Thai, pretty words. My mother used to run the place opposite Don Mueang Airport, which, since the Second World War, every airport would have some kind of brothel nearby to accommodate the GIs, the Japanese that came in. And we were the biggest one in Don Mueang, right? At our heydays, we would have about 50 girls. So you can imagine the smell of pussies that you walk in. Anyway,
Charming.
it was a fun. For me, I didn't register it as like a very seedy, debauchery kind of
Grew up
setting.
like there.
I had fun. They were like my families, and I think that's partly why I get so bewildered when people are like, sex workers are shameful, they should not have the rights, they should be illegal.
Who says that still? I mean, seriously,
Yes.
who says that?
And well, you go down the street and ask people, they still think they accept that it exists, but they don't think it should be in public or rubbing in your face because we are a Buddhist country. I can go on for hours.
I know this face rubbing is all a very weird concept, isn't it?
Well, the thing is, as I grew up, it was a fun setting, but it's also quite sad in some ways because
Did
yes,
you know that they were probably exploited?
Well-
They didn't have the rights of the girls at Can-Do Bar. Today.
no, what I saw was they were, people around us looking down at them like that. I could see, right? But I respect them a lot. They're working girls, and
Yeah.
some of them had no choice because they got divorced. They have no education. It was the only job that made enough money to pay their debt and this kind of thing. So I had a lot of respect from day one. Like I didn't feel that it's a bad job.
So that was a unique perspective. You
That
weren't
was-
the typical high so Bangkok studying at St. Martin's, right?
So
Bit of a different start in life.
listen, okay, just fun fact, 20 years on, right? So it was running until just before COVID, actually. So I grew up with
I
it.
know, I used to visit it.
Ah!
Not the brothely bit.
But the girls these days are very different. They call themselves the fiancé. They are the freelance and they actually come from a lot from pretty motor show. And then this is kind of like the elevation of that. So they're very well spoken. Some of them goes to Bangkok University doing this gig just to get a Prada bag.
Jesus.
Right? And so society has totally changed.
Yeah.
And there's this whole image of like, oh, she was forced into prostitution. Like, I personally haven't really experienced that, especially with male prostitution. Like, I haven't, male sex worker, I never met one who actually got forced into the industry. So,
Well, there was an article, I think, Washington Post or something, but anyway, there's an article about one of the NGOs in Chiang Mai that published that said all the boys tap hair. There's 200 underage boys every night being sold and forced as sex worker. And it turned out it was all bullshit. All of it.
And
was wrong.
so there's a lot of misunderstanding
Yeah.
about sex work, I think, and growing up in the institution myself. I've seen the picture, I have a bit of perspective. Hence why my new show, I'm working as an artist in residence in Patpong. Do you know Patpong? Have you visited Patpong?
Never.
So
My ping pongs are played on a table.
I love that. So for the listener who don't know what Patpong is, basically is the red light district in Bangkok. It's very famous worldwide.
Infamous.
Yeah, infamous. But I think it has a very interesting history, right? So
Tell us.
so I work with Patpong Museum,
Yeah.
which is again back to museum.
Yeah.
I went and I realized it showed the history of Patpong, which is very fascinating. Basically, it's one of the first international districts of Bangkok. The owner Patpong Panip was given the surname by King Rama IV because they trade a lot of cement. So their land was not good for growing things, but in Khao they could have made cement.
Ah.
So it was like become very successful business. One of the sons went to in 60s went to study in America and work with Seri Thai, and he then worked with the CIA, and you know he parachuted with Jim Thompson. So they were trained around the same time, Kun Udom Patpong Panit. And when he came back to Thailand in the 60s, he brought his friends to open offices. So we had IBM first opened in Bangkok,
Right.
Patpong. We had Caltex. We have, On Air America.
I don't know
All
that
these
there.
amazing offices was first in Patpong.
And then the bar scene evolved around it, or what?
Well, because they were also working with the CIA, right? And a lot of people, around this time, it was a secret war. Well, not so secret there. Everyone knew about it.
Mid-60s.
In mid-60s, that basically the China and the Soviet were expanding their communist territory into Laos, and the Americans were sending the CIA to the border of Laos to train Hmongs and all these tribe people
Yeah.
to fight against communism.
Yeah.
And it was also a campaign very harshly in Thailand against communists, right?
Oh,
it was
yeah,
a
big
big
time,
anti-communist program then too. And on the way there, they flew in from Patpong.
So from
Well,
Patpong,
all these people, right, were living in
Alright.
Patpong and going there. And on the way back, they also were bringing back things like opium and weed. So it was, it's involved all kind of seediness business. And because they were recognized by the government of Thailand, no one do anything about it, right? And then
Right.
Patpong become this area for all the vices. First, a go-go bar was there, and they thought, okay, bar is a great setting for exchanging secrets, for selling things, So they start expanding into many bars. Into the 70s, when we had the Vietnam War, a lot of soldiers were stationed, 6 months there in Vietnam and 6 months back in Thailand. And they love it in Patpong, and they filed that they're dead.
Yeah.
So the wife back home thought that they're dead, but I actually have new wives here, new kids, and they live in Patpong to this very day.
oh really?
So I have met some, that gave me amazing stories
So
that
you
now still regular.
Curating this museum, or what are you doing?
No, so basically the museum is done by Kun Michael Messner, who's actually owned a few bars in Patpong, and like me, heard so many amazing stories, decided to make a display about it. I went as a museologist to, give advice and promote them, but then I realized there's no gay section in the museum.
And there should be.
Well, I thought so, because
Was there ever a gay scene in Patpong? Was it relevant?
well, Silom is well-known gay area,
Mm.
and it's next to Patpong Silom. Soi 2
Yeah.
is like the mecca of gay in Asia.
Yeah,
Everyone
yeah,
comes
yeah.
to Silom. And we used to have a Soi Twilight, which is
Yeah,
in
it says
Surawong.
me pretending I'm knowing what I'm talking about. No,
So
I don't know that.
it's like very well-known gay area
Okay.
in Surawong, where all the first Agogo Boy bar in Thailand was there. So I thought, okay, I asked Michael, can I do a residency, maybe 1 month, staying in Patpong, drawing the boys,
Yeah.
and maybe get some info. And I've learned so much. So since
So this will be an exhibition, a permanent
Yes.
one?
My residency ends the end of June, and whatever I learned, it will go into the museum as like a gay section of the museum, right? And it's fascinating thinking what I've
Right.
learned. So
Why?
okay, I'll tell you a bit of the gay history.
Oh, go on.
So the first time the word gay ever published officially in Thailand was 1965 in Thailand newspaper. Right before, as we discussed, the word "gatoi" was here.
Yes.
Right, as we in the court since the Yustiya time, but gatoi always a social riffraff, or physical disability, or gay guys who have who dress up as female or effeminate. We call them gatoi, the gatois. So it's always kind of like a lower class. But in 1965, there was a murder case of a CIA agent, a former CIA agent, Mr. Daryl Berrigan, who was the editor of the newspaper Bangkok World. Right? So we now know Bangkok Post.
Yes.
But back in the day, Bangkok Post and Bangkok World was B2 newspaper in Bangkok. You read Bangkok World in the morning, Bangkok Post in the afternoon. So he was very influential, one of the founder, I would say, of FCC, Foreign Correspondent Club. So quite prominent figure. He was killed in October of 1965. The normal newspaper, the English language newspaper, reports that his body was found in Ponyuting Road with a bullet at the back of his neck, looking for a murderer. Herald newspaper say the Lakapet Farang gay got his pants pulled down to his feet, showing his ass, and needs to check for sperm on his anal.
What? Well, talk about Thailand newspaper. This morning I had a lovely message from Oat, and it was today's headline, wasn't it? And what did it say?
It said, the feeder ling, the new disease,
monkeypox.
is now popular in gay men, men who have sex with men. Nothing changed. 80 years, nothing changed.
Unbelievable.
Amazing.
Today, that was today. Headline.
It's kind of crazy.
It really is, isn't it?
But it's interesting because for that next about 2 weeks, every day, front page Thailand would be doing something about this, exposing the new world of gay in Bangkok.
Oh.
They gathered in posh houses in Sukhumvit, wearing designer clothing, right? So they start interviewing people who knew Bergen, and he had 2 adopted sons, and they were like, were they fighting over the inheritance? Because they were both young, handsome males.
So
and then they're like, so it's a big scandal. Then they realized he bought some sex worker from a particular temple in Bangkok, which I shall not name, is still there. And they have this like the whole raid of the gay world. It became a thing because, think about it, the Gatoi was lower class, but this guy was someone recognized in the scene.
Yes.
He's a rich Farang.
Yeah.
He dressed well. He's not feminine. All this circle of group, the Shomrom gay, was not feminine in the sense that Gatoi was.
Yeah.
So it was a new word, right, that introduced in our culture. So like bear in mind, the word gay in Thai came with a murder case.
Sharp. Oh, lovely. Gosh.
That
Well,
is-
you've come a long way though. Wow. Right?
We have put a lot of glitter since on the damn word. We have claimed it, right? But it's not the word gay like happy gay as in English, right? I think we have to acknowledge that Thai understanding of gender or all this gender boxing are very different and very recent.
Yeah.
So of course, being a former CIA agent, that kind of links to Patpong.
Yeah.
He also frequents some bars around the area, and also the first bar ever recorded of gay go-go boys was Twilight in 1966, run by a trans woman called Yusawadi, which I know. And
Sounds so exotic.
it's great, right?
Yeah.
And then it's the first bar where the boys will stand behind the bar, and at some point they'll start taking off their clothes, and eventually there will be total nude, and the customer could pick who to go home with. And this bar was so iconic, and it lasted in many shape and form, right? It reinvented itself many times. Until this very day, there's still a bar called New Twilight
New
in
Twilight,
in
wow.
around that area. It actually became very well known. The whole Soi Pratushai, which is next to Montien Hotel,
Yeah. Yeah.
was the gay Soi. It's called the Twilight
Yeah,
Soi
yeah.
for many years until 2019. That was shut down.
It must be such a fun project you're doing.
The thing is, BPM, I do it because, just like every other LGBT history, when Twilight Soi was closed, everything went with it.
Right.
It go, and no
Really?
one talks about
So this
it.
pandemic closure.
Yeah, and no one talks about it because the gay people of that generation don't want their name to be associated, right? They still have quite a shame about going to these bars. But for me, it's a place where people fell in love. They had that sexual experience. They had, they're heartbroken. So many stories happened in Twilight.
Wallet stolen.
Wallet stolen, right? Life change in this red light district.
So you were saying that there is now gentrification is coming back. So there's now 3,000 erotic books being sent from Amsterdam.
Wow, yeah, a lot of things happening alongside my project. I'm very fortunate to work, with Kun Michael, who this museum is regenerating the area. I think, during COVID, of course, a lot of things changed. Like Twilight was closed. A lot of gay bars moved. Actually, only four remains out of 10 plus. 4 gay go-go boys bar is now moved to Patpong, which queer the area.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so like
yeah.
when the customer walked in, usually the girls in Patpong would be like, hey, and now he walked into a gay bar, which I love.
Yeah.
I think now it's like much more fluid.
Yeah.
And the whole scene is changing.
Yeah, but tell us about this library thing. This is cool.
Yeah, a lot of places are closed. New people coming in and changing the bar scene. One bar in particular being sold to a Dutch galleryist, and he's flying his erotic book collection with original Andy Warhol posters and things like this into Patpong, making it more different.
Amazing.
Different
Yeah,
experience.
yeah.
But the thing is, Kun Michael would say Patpong changes every about 20 years. Right? At the beginning, it was this business district, and then it became the red light district, and now we've seen the change. Post-COVID, I think it will be more cultural district.
Wow,
and
that's
different
interesting.
things. Yeah, because if you look around it, Siloam is now being developed in a crazy way.
Yeah.
After COVID, a lot of new high-rise and things. So Patpong area is really changing, and I'm very excited to be part of this.
Okay.
Creating memories and also creating new dialogues about this area.
And not only that, you're getting a residency in America.
Yeah. Oh my.
Bring the. Okay, so this is really weird. Dear Jonas, our dear friends Chris and Lulu were going back to Brazil, and as a farewell gift to Jonas, whoop, bit droopy, they gave him this rather saucy number.
Oh, it comes with the interchangeable
Penis.
which I love.
Yeah. Anyway, why we brought this out to show you isn't because I find it a giggle, but
Well, that also.
that as well.
And it's also it's actually a figure from Tom of Finland, which is a foundation. Well, he was an artist, post-war artist, doing a lot of male erotic drawings, and now it become a foundation for erotic artists in LA, and that's where I'm having my artist in residence program
He's
next
going
month.
next month for 3 months in LA, all
drawing
paid for by
Tom of Finland.
Oh no, Tom of Finland.
Yeah,
But isn't that fantastic?
yeah. So yeah, straight from Patpong to West Hollywood.
Yeah. So what are you gonna do there?
So there's an archive of erotic arts, which I'm very interested, because I feel Patpong, for example, was influenced a lot by the Americans, of course, the CIA and the whole gay identity of Thailand. This whole leather fetish thing came from that, post-war. Like Tom of Finland was quite crucial in setting this trend, because he was actually he was the artist. He was in the military, and he had like a biggest turn on by all this uniform. He was famously, quote, I don't agree with the Nazi, but I think it's the most sexy uniform that they are. So, this kind of thing, like, he's really queer it.
Yeah.
And his drawings, you will see, it's very controversial, because there's a lot of, like, you get arrested by the police, or you get arrested in the military, and then they all ended up fucking an orgy.
Lovely.
So it's kind of...
Is that what you're hoping to achieve?
I'm totally hoping to achieve.
Jolly good.
Well, actually, yes, because his drawing, I think, was, unstigmatizing the whole gay movement at the time. Because you have to bear in mind, it was also the AIDS epidemic.
Yes.
Right, that leads up after the war was also very tough on the gays, and then we have the AIDS epidemic. So they were really shameful about their sex. So Tom of Finland drawing this orgy everywhere, in the park, on the street, in a house, in police station, kind of showing it's okay to be gay, it's okay to have fun, and that's what I'm hoping to do. Yeah, with my art, to have fun. Yeah.
Well, we're going to end soon because it's been a while, but we have a lovely, lovely intern, Amanda J. Godfrey.
Amanda!
Who's from the University of Colorado. She just arrived. Come sit here and say hello to everyone for a second. So she's just arrived fresh off the boat.
Hello.
Right.
How are you?
And yeah, you have a few, you've listened to this interview. You can lean back.
Okay.
You can join our talk.
Join our talk. Do you have any questions for Oat, or do you have any comments on how you think things are going?
Yes, I was just curious. You mentioned growing up in, well, for lack of a better term, a brothel
Yeah.
in Bangkok. So I was just curious, how does that influence your work as an artist?
Thank you. That's a really great question. Well, so every last Friday of the month, throughout my childhood, we would have the nude party, which where all the girls would get on stage, get totally nude, naked,
Oh my.
and I have a special responsibility to light them up. So my mom would give me this like very big spotlight, and I have to choose the color to put on the body, right? And as an 8-year-old boy, I never really registered it as sexual or whatever, but I thought it was fascinating. And my mom would always say like, don't use green because it looks like a ghost.
Yeah.
And don't use white because it's too real. So I would lit the girls in pink, orange, all sorts of colors to create this kind of erotic fantasy. Yeah. So this really influenced my work, how the body lit up to create some type of narrative or fantasy. Like my first solo show at the gallery, actually called Song Prapa. Song mean bathe, Prapa mean light. So it's all the male figure being lit up by the different kind of light. And in Patpong also, I draw a lot of bodies being in that light, that brothel light, the purple, pink kind of thing. And I think it's stick with me as an artist. So I guess that kind of shaped my sense of aesthetic in a way. Does that answer your question?
No, absolutely. And I was curious, obviously art is a very competitive industry, people are always fighting for some kind of spotlight.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, what makes you stand out among other artists? What do you think
Honey,
is
look at this. Look at this. Baby, look at all of this. No,
You just seen it 2 years ago. So,
I think I combine my art with my knowledge in museums, my love of history, my love of, even LGBT activism. I always see my art in relation to that. And I think that's kind of set me apart a bit, because a lot of artists, LGBT artists even, in Thailand, don't want to come out or identify themselves as LGBTQ artists because they feel like they're putting themselves in a box.
Right.
And like, oh, I don't want to draw penis forever. I have no problem with that. Like, I don't mind. And also, I think art doesn't come out in like a vacuum.
Right.
There's always context. There's always time and place. A lot of people say, oh, art for art's sake, darling. My art is pure art. Like, bullcrap. It comes from your hand. It comes from your head. It came from your heart. So it's from somewhere. So why do we not talk about that? Of course, as you said, I grew up in a brothel with sex worker. Of course, that influenced my work. The way I see things, even the way I paint the face. It's always came out through my lines anyway. So yeah, I guess that kind of set me apart. If that answers your question, yeah.
That was fantastic.
Brilliant.
Thank you so much.
Amanda, do you see are there any issues that you've found surprising compared to your experiences in America?
I would love to hear that.
Yeah,
I think that there's a lot of similarities in the way that sex workers are viewed in the United States. It's a very taboo industry. Obviously, there is criminality associated with it. I'm sure there are multiple girls, there are many girls in Thailand who are forced into this who don't want to be there. So it is a hard distinction as far as breaking down the barriers for the people who are willing to put themselves out there like that. It's not, oh no, this isn't criminal, this isn't bad, this is something I choose to do.
So basically, similar issues.
A lot of similar
Very
issues,
good.
yes, that's true.
All right, I think we're thank you, and I think we'll end up now. That's
Thank
lovely.
you.
So, do you have anything to add?
So if you want to follow my work, Bodhisattva LGBTQ plus gallery.
How do you spell it?
BODHISATTA Bodhisattva. Yeah. It's based on Avalokiteswaran Bodhisattva, which is a Buddhist deity that have no gender. So I know it's a mouthful, but once you get it, you get it. The gallery is in Donmyeong if you would like to visit. Also, if you want to see my work,
And it's
personally,
also where his den of sin is.
my
It's such
devotion.
good fun.
Yes, yeah, you came
I
quite
go
a
all
few
the time.
times.
Yeah, I love it.
You came all over the place.
Certainly did not, young man.
Oat Montien Studio,
Yeah.
also on my Facebook if you want to follow me, and let's keep in touch.
Yeah.
Such an honor to be here.
Yeah,
Thank
no,
you
honestly,
so
I'm
much.
so honoured to have you here. It was a lovely, lovely chat. Thank you so much. Sorry we didn't have Tiggy with us today. I'm
Oh,
feeling a bit
Tiggy.
sulky today. Yeah, so that was a great chat.
Thank you so much,
Dad.
Kim. Mwah.
สวัสดีเจ้า
ขอบคุณค่ะ